The future belongs to highly autonomous operators working with AI. AI will never kill great leadership, but it will kill fake leaders. We didn't get big and powerful brains to solve math problems. We got them to manage complex relationships. Hello. I'm Minnie, your favorite Gemini from New York. I lived in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Boston in my 20s with years of management experiences in multinational companies and an MBA from MIT Sloan. A lot of millennials are having the same anxiety right now. On the one hand, you've worked your ass off for the past decade and finally achieved some sort of success in your definition, whether that is saving enough money to build a family, or having enough financial security to live the life you want, or running a team at work. Yet these days, there's no job security, no flexibility, a financial ceiling, and these aging leaders that are just going nowhere. And you probably got a mortgage, or kids too. At the same time, the hype and excitement around AI are gradually turning into anxiety, worry, and even fear. Am I behind on upskilling? Will middle management disappear? Is my job, company, and industry even safe? It's so daunting, and I feel you 100%. As a fellow millennial in my early 30s, I recently read this article called IC is the New Career Flex by Elena Verna. The idea is basically that AI is now giving high-performing, highly capable individual contributors enough leverage to do the work that used to require an entire team. So, instead of climbing into management, the future belongs to highly autonomous operators working with AI. As someone who started my management career at the age of 26 in multinational companies, I felt a lot of emotions reading this article. There is excitement, there's curiosity, but there's also this sense of disappointment and even some denial. So I took some time to digest the concept and logic behind this article so you don't have to. You just need to watch this video to know it all. At the end of this video, you will hear my verdict on whether this new flex is for you. Let's start with the core arguments. For decades, climbing into management was seen as the ultimate goal because leadership roles control resources, compensation, influence, and decision-making power. The more people you managed, the more impact you're perceived to have. But AI is changing that equation. It is helping highly capable individual contributors do the work that used to require an entire team. One person with strong expertise in AI fluency can research, analyze, prototype, build, automate, and execute cross-functionally without layers of support around them. And the cost of execution is also declining rapidly. Therefore, instead of spending years climbing into management, now the new career flex is to become one of these so-called high-impact ICs. Personally, I resonate with this a lot. I am also the type of manager who does like to do the work and refine my craft, even though I know when to delegate and empower others. And of course, you have finite resources, including time, so in the past, it was just not possible to do it all. I've also had an extremely non-linear career, starting in customer support and success, and sales in financial services and clean tech, and now moving into strategy and operations as the chief of staff in entertainment. Being a true Gemini and a generalist, deliverable-driven role with very clear results KPI that allows me to ideate and prototype and execute end-to-end is beyond exciting. But I also think the implication of this article is overstated, that the middle management is no longer valuable, and once you become this expert with all this AI knowledge, it will solve all of your career problems. With that, I'm going to talk you through the 3 considerations that you should have regarding your future career path as a high-impact IC versus the continued leadership pursuit. Number 1, getting into the core of this issue and ask yourself the question, is leadership a means to an end, or do you actually enjoy it? Now that you've been presented with the possibility of achieving your financial and career goals without climbing the corporate ladder, you can truly ask yourself the question, do I enjoy people management? In my experience working with senior leaders, both in multinational companies with hundreds and thousands of employees, as well as smaller companies with less than 1,000 people, all of the C-suite leaders who made it where they are today enjoy leading teams, managing people, and maneuvering resources and talent to an extent. While the money is lucrative, some are probably overpaid. The financial return is simply not enough to motivate them to take on that big of a responsibility if they don't enjoy it at all. And those real leadership roles will simply not go away, especially in large organizations with 10,000 people or more. And if your answer is yes, you do like the act of leading and the impact that you can make as a leader, there's always going to be a need in these organizations who can set short-term goals and long-term visions for the team, who can break down silos, who can motivate and engage with employees and different people to work together, and who can make a lot of critical decisions with experience, with data, and with intuition. AI will never kill great leadership, but it will kill fake leaders who over-index on delegation that adds no value. And remember, not everyone in this world wants to be a leader and be in the spotlight all the time. Some just prefer to have a stable job and be told what to do and are great at following instructions. Leaders exist to enable opportunities for that social group. Oxford anthropologist Robin Dunbar's landmark social brain hypothesis. In primates, the size of our neocortex in relation to the size of the brain increases consistently with the size of the social group. Our brains are not as large as they are to provide raw computational power to think our way out of a sticky situation. Our brain size actually helps us navigate the large and complex social networks that we rely on to survive. In other words, we didn't get big and powerful brains to solve math problems. We got them to manage complex relationships. And number 2, evaluate your industry. In the past 2 years, almost all companies started taking AI adoption and integration seriously. Nearly 4 out of 5 companies have engaged with it in some shapes or forms, 35% fully deployed and 42% piloting. Generative AI adoption skyrocketed in the past 2 years as well, rising from 33% in 2023 to 71% in 2024. But the gap is truly larger than you can imagine. Big tech, for example, are at the forefront of this AI revolution. It is the product, the infrastructure, and the workforce strategy all at the same time. Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon aren't adopting AI. They're converting their entire workplace logic around it. Agentic systems are already operating in production. Physical robots are fully automated and are navigating the warehouses. Anecdotally, friends from Google shared that the company is already employing and onboarding agents as if they're real humans, each with their unique login IDs. To an outsider, that is pretty mind-blowing. Crucially, they're also building AI that every industry adopts, which gives them a compounded structural advantage. Similarly, in banking, it appears moderate, but what's happening inside is truly sophisticated. JP Morgan's LLM suite is reaching 250,000 employees and already has 450 plus use cases in production. Of course, the constraint is regulatory and architectural. Banks and financial institutions, heavily regulated and scrutinized, simply cannot plug in a commercial AI tool into their entire system for data privacy and risk management purposes. So the adoption is going to be more gradual, but lots of tools are being built in-house, it's going deep, it is heavily audited and conservative in terms of autonomy. And there are many players and layers of banking as well. Consumer-facing fintech, for example, is making great progress. Fraud detection is now already running 24/7 without human approval, and it can intercept 92% of frauds before it happens. And in these type of organizations, as middle management, not only will you need to upskill yourself in terms of AI fluency to be able to handle your own tasks and projects a lot faster than before, you might also want to approach leadership as a mix of managing humans and managing agents and robots. Other industries are also progressing at their own pace. Hollywood, for example, is in active legal and creative conflict with AI tools. If you remember the fiasco of Sora AI and the deepfakes, that said, lots of progress has been made on video production, post-production processing, and a lot of the traditionally project management and manual work heavy parts of the entire filmmaking and production process. In Hollywood and general entertainment, content, and IP-related industries, the business model of ads, of partnerships, and of content licensing remains largely unchanged with AI, and therefore the progress is naturally not going to be what people are seeing in tech, for example. Clean energy as well. AI adoption is never going to be all about chatbots and streamlining processes and work, but also about physics. These days, a lot of it is about managing an increasingly complex and intermittent power grids in real time, as well as optimizing energy storage and continuing to adopt predictive maintenance and other AI tools for clean tech like solar, wind, and other forms of electricity generation and management. Of course, you have to address the irony of the increasing electricity demand driven by AI. All that is to say, it is a much more real or complex industry when it comes to adopting different forms of AI, whether that is traditional predictive AI or generative AI. And once again, if you're middle management in the energy industry, you're going to have to upskill yourself in a completely different way. So my advice when it comes to looking at the industry is really to look at how much of your industry is focused on digital products in the digital world versus physical. And I'm sure we're going to make a ton of progress in robotics and the physical adoption of AI in the coming decades. But right now, depending on where your industry lies on that scale, you may have a little bit more leeway in time to continue progressing in your current role as a manager. And number 3, know yourself and your risk appetite. The idea of executing end-to-end without layers of cross-functional alignment sounds really sexy, but we can't underestimate the systematic and structural challenges and the risk of oversight. There's a reason why the division of labor and functional expertise lived and survived for hundreds of years, way before the Industrial Revolution. The fundamental economic principle of comparative advantage shows that countries are better off specializing in what they're relatively better at in producing and trading the rest, even if one party is technically better at doing it all. That is to say, at the current stage, it is impossible for any AI tools or one highly functional IC with lots of AI fluency to simply carry out product launches and new iterations and implementations at scale. The current system may appear to be inefficient, but truly you have lots of smart minds iterating on the idea. You have a very visible scoreboard for progress, as well as a very, very effective feedback loop. And with this healthy competition and collective intelligence, you can actually allow room for small mistakes and iterations. So in order to pursue this high-impact IC highway in your career, you must ask yourself if you're going to be comfortable with this doing it alone path, as well as bearing the massive risk of failing. Are you and your organization ready to let you unblock all the obstacles, fix all the bugs, and essentially do this alone, but with accuracy and timeliness? So, the verdict? I agree that organizations will continue to flatten, and a lot of middle management jobs will be eliminated. Roles that are workflow heavy, process driven, and structured are most at risk. And whether you're a senior leader or junior analyst, you've just got to learn and upskill yourself with all of the AI tools out there to empower yourself. However, different industries will move at different paces in terms of the future of work. If you work in traditional industries, especially if your industry has a physical product or deals with the physical infrastructure of the world that we live in, or if your products are physical and at scale, it may be worth waiting it out before you jump back into this highway IC track. Of course, if it is your intention to pivot into AI or join an AI startup, that is a completely different story. And finally, I truly believe that there is always going to be demand and a need for great leadership in this world. If that is something that you're genuinely interested in, enjoys doing, and wants to be better at, you've got to keep refining your craft, aka practice in action. And managing AI agents aren't yet exactly the same. If you want to know more about leadership, especially as a young manager, check out my previous videos on management advice for first-time managers. Here's a motto that influenced me along the way throughout my career by my mentors and even my mom as of yesterday, that if you can become the top 1% in anything you do, whether that is corporate, medicine, sports, arts, entrepreneurship, money will follow. Let me know your thoughts on the disappearance of middle management jobs or the high impact I see as a new career flex. I'll see you next time. Bye!